Hi there, and welcome to WBH TV. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 tips that you can use in your practice to fill your practice with little or no marketing budget. I'm Psaila. Okay, let me ask you a question. Now, are you finding it difficult to have clients or patients come into your practice on a regular basis? Now, I'm not talking about having, 2 on a Monday and maybe, 3 on a Friday. What I'm talking about is consistently booking out your practice week in, week out in advance. Now, also, are you finding it hard to understand, who's your right target audience that you can market your services or your product to? Well, guess what? You're not alone. 99% of practitioners all over the world suffer exactly the same problem. Now, I'm going to share with you some tools and tips that I used to fill my practice in advance, weeks and weeks and weeks, if not months in advance. Okay, here we go. Number 1 is it's important that you have an irresistible offer. Now, I'm not talking about discounting, because the worst thing that you can do as a practitioner is continuously discount your services to try to compete with somebody else that's discounting their services. Guess who ends up winning? It's definitely not the practitioner, it's usually the public. In other words, you start to get irritated because you're doing all your services for next to no profit, or really next to nothing, and guess what? You're just devaluing your service. So I'm not talking about discounting, but what I'm talking about is adding value. And here's an example. If you're a massage therapist, let's say, instead of just doing, let's say, a 30-minute, treatment or an hour treatment, you can always add an extra 10 or 15 minutes as a bonus for that client. Number 2 is maybe you could give them, some essential oils in a little container that they can take home and they can use for the same price as what they're paying just for a normal massage treatment. As an example, let's say if you're a chiropractor, what you're able to do is to say, look, here I've treated you, and maybe here's a little chart that you can take with you to make sure that you're looking after your back in a certain, level of care. In other words, what I'm doing is I'm separating myself from everybody else that's just doing the everyday run-of-the-mill stuff. So it's important that you've got an irresistible offer that's going to be super, super exciting for the targeted clientele. Now, let's move to part 2. Part 2 is about understanding what I call your client market or your client avatar. In other words, who is it exactly that you need to attract? Now, I know what you may be thinking. I can heal everybody, and I've heard that through thousands of practitioners all over the world. Well, you may be right, but guess what? That's too much of a broad net. You want to get really tight. So here's an example. So if you specialize in, pregnancy, well, it's no use, trying to treat men, because that's just not your service, or that's not your level of practice that you do. So do you see, it's not everybody that's the right fit for you. Now, if you work with the elderly, let's say in rehab, well, it's no use, targeting athletes and, sports people, because they're just not the right person. So it makes sense that you spend at least, an hour or 2 working on who exactly would you like to work with and who's your best client. And I like to call this a client avatar. In other words, things like, what are they thinking? What are they saying when they're with their friends or their colleagues or their family members? What are they hearing? What are they listening to? What are they watching? What are they buying? Where are they in shopping centers? What type of product do they buy? Are they, looking at natural, levels of product, or are they just, buying from the supermarket? So these are really important factors, so you understand how your marketing can address their needs and how your marketing looks fantastic as an irresistible offer to them. Now, number 3 is about understanding that in order to keep your marketing budget down, well, it makes sense that you join forces with other practitioners and cross-promote your services. I can tell you that I've had massive success by cross-promoting. Now, all it takes is understanding who's your best person that you can work with. So, as an example, if you're a massage therapist, it's a good thing to work with a chiropractor. If you're a naturopath, maybe a nutritionist is the way to go. So you can understand you're looking for people that are non-competitive and that are happy to cross-promote. Now, think about this for a second. What happens there is you've got the power of 2 databases coming together, theirs and yours. So it makes sense that now you've got double the people for both of you guys to be able to increase your business and pretty much fill your practice fully within the next 30 to 60 days. So I'm going to give you a little challenge. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, and I'd love to see what your progress is, and just reach out for us in the comment section below. Now, if you're really happy with what you've just seen, stay tuned for next week, because what we're going to be talking about is what I call the triple M of marketing. Who's your market? What method? And what's the right message that you want to attract your client to come and see you with. So remember, market, method, message. Till then, hope you have a great day.